Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're completely stripping away the pop culture myths surrounding karma to examine its rigorous 3,000-year-old framework and its striking parallels to modern neurobiology. We hear the word karma thrown around casually all the time, but the actual ancient science behind it is vastly more complex, incredibly psychological, and surprisingly biological. Here's our roadmap for today: redefining the karma myth, moving from ritual to ethics, the three timelines of karma, the biology of samskaras, Vedathri's magnetic blueprint, and finally, escaping the cycle. Section 1. Redefining the karma myth, not cosmic payback. You hear it all the time, right? Instant karma. Someone cuts you off, gets pulled over, and boom, karma. We treat it like this mystical justice system or cosmic payback, but honestly, framing it as some supernatural ledger of rewards and punishments is a huge misunderstanding. It totally misses the profound, naturalistic philosophy at its actual core. It is not some invisible judge in the sky handing down sentences. The real secret is literally in the language itself. The word karma comes from the Vedic Sanskrit root kri, which simply means to do, make, or perform. It just means action. And by extension, it refers to the inescapable consequences that ripple outward from that action. So fundamentally, we're talking about cause and effect and human agency. Not fatalism, not cosmic vengeance. It's about how your continuous choices actively construct your everyday reality. Moving on to Section 2, From Ritual to Ethics, 3,000 Years of Evolution. It's fascinating to see how this idea evolved over thousands of years. If we look back at the earliest texts, the Vedas from around 1500 BCE, karma literally just referred to physical fire rituals meant to maintain cosmic order, known as Rita. There was absolutely zero moral weight to it. But fast forward to the Upanishads around 800 BCE, and it completely transforms into a deeply internal psychological framework. Finally, by the time we hit the Bhagavad Gita, it gets refined into a highly specific spiritual discipline: action without attachment. What's wild is how ancient texts like the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad essentially mapped out human psychology long before modern science. It charts a brilliantly clear progression. Desire leads to resolve, resolve demands action, and action inevitably yields a result. This basically proves that desire, not the physical deed itself, is the true engine of our destiny. They figured out that physical action is just the very end of a long cognitive chain. Basically, you literally become what you deeply desire. Section 3. The timelines of karma, mapping cause and effect. So how exactly are all these actions stored and processed? Classical philosophy breaks it down into three functional timelines to explain the lag between a cause and its effect. At the top, there's Sanchita. This is the vast ancestral storehouse of inherited imprints. Think of it like a massive, overflowing reservoir. Then we have Prarabdha. That's just the extracted portion of that reservoir that's actively shaping your current biology and destiny right now. And finally, Agami, the brand new actions you are generating right this second. It's an incredibly elegant way to synthesize determinism with free will. Your Prarabdha sets the inescapable parameters, sure, but your Agami is the active architectural power of your current choices. To put it simply, you're dealt a hand of cards, that's Prarabdha. How you actually play them, that's Agami. All right, Section 4, the biology of samskaras, philosophy meets science. This is where ancient philosophy and modern labs actually shake hands. It is amazing how ancient metaphysical ideas perfectly mirror what we now know about synaptic remodeling and biological inheritance. Ancient yogis talked about samskaras, these deep psychological grooves worn in by repeated actions. Well, today, neuroscience calls that Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you repeat a behavior, you're literally myelinating neural pathways, making that habit automatic. And what about Sanchita karma, that whole inherited ancestral baggage thing? Modern science actually has a name for that too: transgenerational epigenetics. To really ground this in hard science, consider some landmark human studies. Research on people exposed to the Dutch hunger winter in the 1940s revealed structural genetic changes, specifically 5.2% less DNA methylation in a certain growth gene, a full 6 decades later. Similarly, Dr. Rachel Yehuda's famous study found that Holocaust survivors actually passed down altered gene methylation, fundamentally shifting their children's biological stress responses. So trauma literally alters the genetic expression of our descendants. It serves as a stunning biological analog for ancestral karma. Now, We have to be completely objective here. Treating these physical phenomena as hard scientific proof of the transmigration of the soul or reincarnation is a category error. Yes, the behavioral parallels are undeniably profound. Epigenetics and neuroplasticity beautifully explain how conditioning is biologically passed down and ingrained. But they live entirely in the realm of biology, while the soul's rebirth stays in the realm of spiritual philosophy. It's really important to keep those analytical boundaries clear. Moving to Section 5, Magnetic Blueprint, Veda Thatori's theory. There's a fascinating modern attempt to unify all this. The 20th century philosopher and Siddha practitioner Vethathiri Maharishi developed a highly distinctive, quasi-scientific system. He argued that our actions don't just, vanish into thin air. Instead, they're stored as compressed wave functions in a biomagnetic genetic center located right at the base of the spine. He posited that this center incorporates sexual vital fluid, spinning life force particles, and human biomagnetism, basically acting as an indestructible biological hard drive. It records every single thought, word, and deed, and then transfers that data directly to the next generation. Just to be perfectly clear and objective, her synthesis offers a wonderfully rich pedagogical framework for holistic unity. But his quantum claims are interpretive models. They are not experimentally validated mainstream physics. You aren't going to find a literal biomagnetic hard drive at the base of the spine in a biology textbook today. But as an interpretive model for understanding just how perfectly integrated our actions are with our biology, it is an incredibly powerful thought experiment. And Vethathiri didn't just diagnose the problem. He actually built a structured system for neutralizing these karmic imprints. Step 1 is expiation, actively rectifying errors and making amends. Step 2 is superimposition, which means consciously overriding bad imprints by doing good deeds. Honestly, this is essentially practicing neuroplasticity by starving old, toxic neural pathways and building fresh ones. Finally, nullification involves deep meditation to lower brainwave frequencies. And independent of the metaphysics, empirical studies, like a 2025 trial in the Journal of Pharmacy and Biolog Sciences, have proven that his structured introspection and sky meditation techniques measurably lower stress and serum cortisol levels. The practices undeniably work for human well-being. Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, Escaping the Cycle, Breaking Free. So how do we actively break free from this relentless cycle? The answer brings us right back to antiquity. This famous verse from the Bhagavad Gita provides what might be the ultimate psychological technology. By acting fully without egoic attachment to the result, we stop generating new karmic debt. The Gita warns that you literally can't stop acting. Even breathing is an action. But if you can strip away that desperate psychological craving for a specific outcome and let go of the pride of being the doer, your actions no longer stick to you. You do the work purely because it is the right thing to do. When you put this whole puzzle together, from the ancient Upanishads all the way to modern neuroplasticity, you realize something massive. Karma is the exact opposite of fatalism. It is radical responsibility. It is ultimate free will. Far from being helpless victims of fate, this 3,000-year-old science reveals that we are the sole authors of our psychological and biological reality. Literally, every thought and action is physically rewriting your brain and setting the stage for whatever comes next. And that leaves us with a final, empowering question to reflect on long after this explainer ends. Take a hard look at your daily habits, your automatic reactions, your deeply held desires. If you are the true architect of your own destiny, what are you building today?